Well, hi there, everybody. You're traveling with Jack, and as I always say, my heavenly wife, Pam, of course. And this is part of my grief journey series that hopefully some of you get a little something out of this. At least for me, it just helps being able to talk every now and then. You know, we all face those times when we're out there in the world and somebody says something that just doesn't sit well with us. You know what I'm talking about. And we usually stay quiet. We're not going to say anything to the person that said it. But then we start thinking about it, and we can get a little angry about it. So I want to share with you one of those moments I had. Recently, I had a person who learned of Pam's passing and said, "Oh, well, I guess we're getting of that age when it just happens." And I thought for a moment, no, we're not just of that age. I don't know if you're like I am, but I still consider myself not that old, still working full time. Pam was still working full time. We were nowhere close to being retired. And we thought we had 25, 30, 35 more years together. So no, we weren't thinking in terms of, oh, we're of that age. Now, don't get me wrong. We would have discussions about death. We had very open conversations about it and how we would react if one or the other passed away. I thought I was prepared until it actually happened, but we all know that. But the point being, in Pam's case, I can show you photos of her. This is not a woman who was of that age, so to speak. People often kidded about she just looked incredibly youthful. She was very blessed, and I've talked about this before. When we were first married, I kid you not, I would have people that would ask me, they'd go, and they were serious. They would go, "Has she graduated high school yet?" Yeah, she's perfectly legal, trust me on that end. But she was just a very youthful person. I often tell people how she never wore the mom jeans. She says, "I'll never wear mom jeans," and she wore 4-inch shorts, and she knew how to rock them. She was blessed. She had a bikini body. She could wear a bikini up until her final days and look good in it. But the fact of the statement, somebody saying, "Well, we're of that age," was just, it wasn't true. In fact, my parents are still alive. Both Pam's parents outlived her by 30 plus years. Her grandparents, with the exception of one grandmother, all lived into their 80s and 90s. My grandparents, with the exception of one grandfather, all lived into their 80s and 90s. Pam was an anomaly, and what made it shocking was the fact that she had had cancer 12 years ago. She had breast cancer. And they wanted her to do chemo. And she says, "No, I can find other ways to address this." They said, "Well, you'll probably be dead in 2 years." Well, you know what? She went 12 years cancer-free. Had a good life. And then she did get cancer that appeared in her bones. They called it metastatic cancer. Who knows? If she'd done chemo, would it not have come back? I don't know, but she had 12 great years. And she was in incredible shape. We both ate pretty much an all-organic diet. I still try and do that. Didn't do beef, didn't do pork, didn't do sugars, all that good stuff, all the right things. So we certainly didn't think we were of the age, so to speak. So I guess my advice is, to any of you maybe tuning in, is when somebody says that to you, and if you did have a younger spouse, when I say younger, I mean, you know, we were basically the same age, but of younger age, not older and retired and things like that. We can't respond back and get angry with them and say, "What do you mean she was of age? We're of that age." I'm still here, so obviously we're not of that age because I'm still kicking around. We just kind of have to let it roll off our back because, again, as difficult as it is to hear sometimes these things said to us, we have to remember they don't know. They don't understand. Just like a parent who's lost a child, were they of age? I don't think so. What about the 21-year-old girl that I talked to not long ago who was getting married in 6 months, and her fiance was diagnosed with some terrible disease and died? Would we say to him, "Well, I guess just of that age"? No. Or, "Gee, just luck of the draw," or whatever. No, just don't say things like that. In this case, I would rather people, when it comes to Pam, go, man, she was a good-looking woman. I can't believe she's gone. That's okay. Or like, man, how did you manage to marry up like that? That's good. That's good. Hey, you were sure blessed. Yeah, that's all good. But don't tell me while I'm still kicking around, still working, still out here full time that, oh, we're of that age. Pam and I always said, too, age is kind of a mindset. And you've heard that before, but it is true. Some people, they're acting 65 when they're 25. And some people that are 65 are acting and looking like they're 25. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to tell you how you should feel or act. But I do know in our case, she wasn't of age yet. And that's probably why it's going to be so difficult for me to ever envision being with anyone else, because I've actually had this thought of how hot and sexy she was. It's like, man, if I had died first, I don't think she'd have had a problem catching a younger guy. I really don't. Somebody had been waiting in line to take over where I left off. Now, me, on the other hand, I have no freaking idea how I got to end up with her. Because I can tell you, I did marry way up. I was so blessed. And in some respects, it's like a friend of mine said once. He says, well, maybe God took her soon because that's going to be the image you always have of her. You didn't see her get really old and broken down by time. Maybe so. Although I would have liked that opportunity to have grown old with her. But that's okay. I'll just keep those sexy, hot images in my mind. And I'll keep that big smile in mind. And I'll remember how she rocked that bikini up until her last year of life. I remember those beautiful legs, everything about her. Yep. I was blessed. But we weren't of that age, as they say. We certainly won't. Or weren't. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Well, that's it, guys and girls. And, just me rambling. Some of you are going to have different stories. Some of you may have lived well into your 80s and 90s and lost your spouse. And maybe even then you're saying, well, we weren't of age either. We were planning on living to be 120. God bless you if you were. Okay? All right. I love all of you, and I certainly, as always, appreciate you checking in here. I always invite you to share this video with someone maybe that you think might benefit, and subscribe to our little channel here, Traveling with Jack and Pam. The ever beautiful and ever hot Pam, and the the average guy Jack. Thanks again. Bye now. Have a good evening.